New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
What Would Louise Say? Join us every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Hosted by Reverend Martine Bernard. Explore the wisdom of Louise Hay. Brought to you by New Thought Media Network. Dive into Louise's teachings. Experience healing and empowerment. Reverend Martine shares insights. Connect with a contemporary audience. Unlock your potential. Transform your life with love. Embrace positivity and healing. Join our vibrant community. Ready to join us? Let's spread love and wisdom together. Please like, share, and subscribe. Only on New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Hello, everyone, and love and blessings to you for wherever you are in the world today, whether you're listening or watching the recording later. But I'm thrilled to have you watching, and this is What Would Louise Say? An incredible program that was started back in June. I'm filling in for Reverend Martine today because she had some other things that she needed to do, but I'm delighted to be here with you. Before I introduce our amazing guest, I would like to just take a moment or two to share a little short reading from Louise's best-selling book, You Can Heal Your Life. So just take a deep breath and take these affirmations into your heart and your mind. In the infinity of life where we are, all is perfect, whole, and complete. I am one with the power that created me. I have within me all the ingredients for success. I now allow the success formula to flow through me and manifest in my world. Whatever I am guided to do will be a success. My pathway is a series of stepping stones to ever greater successes. All is well in my world, and so it is. Louise had such a beautiful way of putting together the affirmations to really inspire us. Now today I am delighted to introduce my guest, Christine Carey. I've known her for a number of years, and I'd like to give you more of her background to just get started. Okay, Christine has contributed to education and guidance in the field of recovery for more than 30 years. You look way too young for that, Christine. She produced and hosted the TV show Solutions, which featured interviews addressing challenges for people really wanting to improve their lives. She also served as a contributing journalist for the Associated magazine called Solutions. In 2008, Christine became a licensed Heal Your Life workshop leader, and that's actually where I met her and was thrilled to do so. And now she was able to facilitate groups, conduct workshops, and coach individuals in Louise's philosophy. She also developed a tailored curriculum based on Louise's philosophies for treatment programs in substance abuse and eating disorders. Her programs present healing techniques through experiential learning to help individuals with coping skills for life. And then in 2013, Christine partnered with Tilly Levine. And those of you who have teenagers, you will know Tilly's retail store, I'm sure, at least here in the US. And they developed an experiential social emotional learning curriculum for adolescents, and we know how important that is. Both of these amazing women saw the need for positive and preventive resources for adolescents' mental health. To meet the need, they developed the I Am Me program, and that is comprised of 3 phases and 36 lessons. Then by 2014, TLC's I Am Me program began implementation in educational spaces and youth-focused organizations. We'll talk a lot about those. There is now an additional program called Me, My Brain, and I, which focuses on brain health. That sounds wonderful. Christine is currently VP of Academics at Tilly's Life Center and is devoted to supporting young people with strategies they need to live a happy life. And we certainly know how important that is these days. You know, looking back to when we grew up, oh my goodness, we thought it was tough then. It's really challenging these days for teens. And so this program is absolutely phenomenal. So welcome, Christine. I'm so excited to see you and talk to you today.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you for having me.
You're
I'm
welcome.
very grateful for this opportunity to share the work we're doing. And I adore you. So anything you to do, I will be there to do.
A mutual society here. Absolutely. Well, and you know, you have a really powerful recovery story. And I always like to hear about choice points that people made because those are so important to really when you decide, I need to make a change in my life. And so many people don't do that. And you did. And it's allowed you to become the magnificent woman that you are today. So tell us more about that choice point you had and what happened.
Sure. I feel like, yes, it is a choice point. And I also feel like I was very guided. And all of the things that I had experienced up until those choices were part of my journey and what helped me prepare for the work that I'm doing today. So I wanted to start with that. But in 1989, I chose recovery. I got sober I was drinking and doing all the things. And I actually grew up with a parent who was an alcoholic. So I'm an adult child of an alcoholic and had a long path of all of that. And I made the decision, I guess, in that moment, called a spiritual awakening, that I needed to be sober. And I had tried for many years before that to get sober. And anybody that has experienced, drug addiction or alcoholism or any kind of addiction, it's not as easy as just, I want to quit. It's very powerful. It's mind, body, and soul. And it took me a long time to get to that point. My mom had gotten sober before me, so I knew the path in, but I could not stop. And even though that was something that I told myself as a kid, living in a home with an alcoholic, that was my mantra was, I will never be this. I will never do this. I will never be this, because, it was so devastating to us kids. And I thought, I'm never going to do this. And that's exactly what I did. And it was my tool at the time to help me work through the pain and fill that hole in my soul that was created. So it took what it took. And it was funny because I always tell people I used to be, in bars or whatever, drinking at barely 21. I mean, I got sober at 21 and tell people I'm an alcoholic and someday I need to quit drinking because it's a problem.
Nobody would announce that.
Nobody wants to hear that in a bar, and the whole rundown. My mom was an alcoholic. My grandfather was an alcoholic. His father was, it's a lineage of this disease, and it is a disease. And very grateful that our story ended in a happy way. And there's a lot to that backstory, but I was able to find my way into sobriety. I had a moment of clarity. I was in a hotel by myself for like 3 days. I looked in the mirror and what I saw was I was soulless, and it scared me so much. I mean, not a million of other things that have happened in my life up until that point that should have scared me, right? But that point, I was like, wow, if I don't do this now, I'm not going to make it. And that was my beginning.
And did you go into a program?
I did. I called a friend. Although my mom was in Hawaii at the time and she had been sober for a couple of years, and I had gone, I mean, I went to AA meetings when I was 12 years old with her. So I knew that existed. I knew that that was something that would help remedy what the problem that I had, but it's the journey, right? And I just kept trying, and then would try on my own, and I didn't fully commit. And I guess I didn't fully surrender, but at that point I did. I called a friend that I knew had gone into the Carey unit of Orange, and he was sober. And so I called him and he took me there. And
wonderful.
Yeah. And then I immersed myself into the program. which was the foundation of my sobriety for sure. And I still am involved in that today. But then other things, as I traveled through this journey of recovery, I found other tools and techniques and ways of enriching my sobriety and empowering my life.
Yeah. And how long was it after that you began the Solutions TV program where you were interviewing people to help them?
So that was probably about 2 years, 2 years in, 2 years sober.
Yeah.
I met a gentleman in a meeting. I was actually going to school to be a therapist. I thought that would be a good fit, and I met this gentleman, and he said, I have this TV show I just started and it's called Solutions. And I was like, because I was always in production prior to that. I always loved production, and I loved helping people. So it was the perfect fit. And so I started with him just as a host. And as we went along, I became a producer, and it was wonderful. I got to learn everything about production. I learned how to edit and the broadcast cameras and how to produce shows. And I worked with tons of talented people, focusing on the things that they did to make the world a better place. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful experience.
Well, I think the name Solutions is wonderful.
Yeah.
It really says what we're looking at, what we're looking for.
Yeah.
So when did you find out about Louise Hay's work, and how did that fit in with what was going on with you?
I was probably about a year sober. And there's this store called The Latest Thing. And I would frequent it and go, buy the sage and the crystals and the candles and the books and all the things, because that's my gear. And I, about 22 years old, it used to be on Newport Boulevard, and was in there one night, and they had in the middle of the store, there was a display with You Can Heal Your Life, the OG book with the heart. And I just gravitated towards it, and I thought, well, this is interesting. And I picked it up and I bought it, and yeah, that was the one. That was the one. I picked it up, and it felt like home to me. Getting emotional about it because it was, it felt like home. It was home. In recovery, I was able to get sober with this work and the work that came with it. I was able to discover me and my purpose, and it gave me that courage and that self-confidence that I didn't have, because of all the things, to actually step into my purpose. And so it was truly it was a pivotal moment in my life, finding that book.
And, the foundation of Louise's work, of course, is loving yourself, but there are a whole lot of other techniques we'll talk about in a minute. But how did that work for you when you started really understanding that you could love yourself and really forgive yourself for the past and what you had experienced, and where you were now was great?
Yeah, I did all the workbooks, and I did them for years. I took anybody I sponsored, we had big groups at my house, and the girls, we would do a lot of books. We would read books, but that was the book that I would take them through. And even when I, took the material, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, and developed it for treatment, I would have these grown 40-year-old men say, nobody's ever asked me these questions to answer these questions, or nobody's ever, I've never experienced something like this. And its simplicity is so powerful. It's incredible. It's reprogramming, those neural pathways with affirmations, and really developing that true self-worth. And for a lot of alcoholics and addicts, that we don't have that coming in. I didn't have that. I was I was resilient, but I was full of the fears of being abandoned as a child, all the negative messages that go around it, the survival of the actual addiction and the alcoholism. And I did not believe in myself. I didn't feel worthy or deserving of things. And so that was, that along with other, the recovery, the 12 steps and those things really helped me develop that self-confidence and understand that I did deserve good things in my life,
Well, the Love Yourself, Heal Your Life workbook is the companion to Louise's, Heal Your Life book, and also very powerful, page after page of exercises.
Yes.
And what's interesting, because you just said the word deserve, is Louise doesn't really talk about deservability in the You Can Heal Your Life book, but it is the first thing in the workbook.
Yes.
And it's such a foundation for loving yourself and for understanding what were you taught about what you deserve when you're growing up.
Sure.
So as you went through the workbook and you took others through the workbook, were there particular exercises that were the most powerful?
I think forgiveness, and that's in our curriculum with teens, and 90% of them say that's their favorite lesson. And
Really?
What 14, 15, 16-year-old would ever talk about forgiveness? Like,
no.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So I would say forgiveness was very powerful. Of course, forgiving the parent, the alcoholic parent, forgiving yourself for all the things, that happened. And, when you were not in recovery, and just knowing that you're enough.
Yeah. Beautiful work. And, Louise is called the Queen of Affirmations. And she certainly did introduce them, widely to the public. I can remember when I first found her book, and you'd go into a bookstore looking for it, and it was in the back corner, in this very little area. And now the self-help, area is just huge because people are really getting how important that is. But besides the affirmations, how'd that inner child work? Was that an important part for you? Is loving that inner child?
Yeah, definitely. Because the inner child was driving the whole bus.
Yes, the whole bus. All those unconscious things in there, they were definitely driving.
Yes, because the inner child, my childhood was great until I was 12, and then it was not great. So, and it's such a critical time for kids, right? In development. And when it's interrupted, and we talk about, ACEs has been introduced, and do you know much about ACEs? It's adverse childhood experiences.
Oh, well, I know the first childhood, experiences, but not the acronym.
They're using it for kind of a measure in schools now to help kids to figure out like what kids need, additional resources and stuff.
Wonderful.
Wish we had that when we were kids, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember, not being at school or failing school because I was so tired or whatever the thing. And everybody was like, you're failing. You need to get it together. And I'm like, I'm crumbling because my life is chaotic. Right. And so that child was really had a lot of wounds. There was a lot of trauma. But I was always of the mindset that I'm resilient. I got this, no problem. Then I self-medicated. Starting at 12, self-medicated with drugs and alcohol. And so when I got sober, it was a long process to work with the inner child. It wasn't like I did it for a year. I did the steps and I was healed. It's not like that. And so the inner child, I think at first I might've thought that's really silly. Like, what is that? And then as I developed and went through the process, I understood the true meaning of what that was and how it needed to, have its own attention paid to and healed.
Right. And so often we don't realize, or people don't realize that, especially those negative emotional experiences as a child, just really set in those beliefs about I'm not good enough, life is not okay, life is not safe, and all the things that we then start acting out later. And so it's so important. And I really enjoy and love what you said about it's a process. And actually, there is a little short video with Louise doing some tapping on the YouTube. And she finds something from her childhood that brings her to tears.
Yeah.
And so, it really is. There's an ongoing process, and our unconscious mind is so huge that there's always more to uncover. And we often hear about, we're peeling the layers of the onion. I
Yes.
actually like, let's peel the layers of the artichoke, because then we get to the heart.
Oh, I love that.
The onion just makes you cry.
Yeah,
The
I love
artichoke,
that.
you can get to the heart. So I like that metaphor a bit better. Now, I know you took Louise's principles and more and developed programs for treatment and eating disorders and alcoholism and recovery. So tell us more about that, and what went into that program, what you called it, how that worked in the recovery treatment programs.
Sure. So as I said, I was working with girls that I sponsored at the time, and they would come to my house and we would read the book and go through the guidebook. And it was so powerful for them and for myself and other people in recovery that I thought, wow, I wonder if there's a place for this in the recovery process. It's so simple, right? So it's a hard sell. So I'd gone through the training with you and Rick. So that was a whole God shot right there too, everything that happened. So I had brought a whole group of girls through the program, the Louise Hay's book. And I asked them to write a thank you letter to Louise. And so there was, I think, 19 girls at the time, 18 girls. So everybody wrote a thank you letter to Louise, and we mailed them off. And I get a call, from
Shelley, probably Shelley.
Shelley, yeah. And she said, thank you for the letters. This is so wonderful. Can I come visit your group? And we're like, you would have thought the Queen was coming to my house, because we were like cleaning and all the girls were on their, we're just dressed the best and everybody's on their best behavior and like just the whole thing. Right. And she comes in and we do the book, how we do the book work or the meeting. And she just loved it. She just thought it was the greatest thing ever. She had not seen this, this organic process. And she invited me to the Heal Your Life conference at the time. And I think it was in San Diego where I met you.
Probably. Yes. Actually, yes.
Yeah. So I got to go to that, and it was lovely. I'd never been, and it was so wonderful. And Wayne Dyer was speaking. All these people were speaking. I thought, so exciting. So I brought my mom down there, and we had walked past your booth, and Rick had walked out and just started engaging in a conversation with me. And we just went instantly deep, like, and how you do. And then brought me in, and I met you, and you both said, hey, we do this actual training to teach this beautiful work. And this is, when the trainings are, and, if you're interested, reach out. And that was it. I was like, I was all in. I'm like, I'm on board. Let's do this right now. So that same year I came to the training in San Diego, trained to Heal Your Life facilitator.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a short break right now. And when we come back, we'll talk more about your experience with the training and also Tilly's Life Center, because there's a great manifestation story that you have about that we were a part of. So we'll just take a short break and then come on back.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center, Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
What if the person you think you are is just a fraction of who you truly are? What if years of conditioning and surviving in a challenging world have left you clinging to strategies and beliefs that mask your truest nature? I'm Catherine Duca, psychotherapist and self-esteem coach, and you're listening to Who Do You Think You Are? A show that looks beneath our psychological masks and uncovers our profoundly messy, beautiful, brilliant, tender-hearted essence. Join me as we go in search of the hidden power of our true selves. I'm so glad you're here.
What Would Louise Say? Join us every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Hosted by Reverend Martine Bernard. Explore the wisdom of Louise Hay. Brought to you by New Thought Media Network. Dive into Louise's teachings. Experience healing and empowerment. Reverend Martine shares insights. Connect with a contemporary audience. Unlock your potential. Transform your life with love. Embrace positivity and healing. Join our vibrant community. Ready to join us? Let's spread love and wisdom together. Please like, share, and subscribe. Only on New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
And welcome back. My name is Dr. Patricia Crane. I'm here today with Christine Carey, and right now we're going to be talking about the Heal Your Life training that she attended. I personally trained with Louise Hay, as many of you watching know, and that evolved into our Proving a Training program that is worldwide. And in 2008, Christine attended that program. So tell us more about that experience and what that enabled you to do afterwards.
So yes, that was transformational for me. It was just, I love it because you're immersed in it 24/7. I think that's important. It was 4 days. Was it 4 days, 5 days?
Actually 7. It was a Saturday to a Saturday, a Saturday to a Saturday. Right?
We were there for a week. That's amazing. Yeah, so you're immersed in it like night and day, and it's cathartic, and it's also like a therapy session. It's all of those things, right? And so I was well versed in Louise's work when I went to the training, and a lot of other people's works had studied many people at that point. And I've had gone to workshops, several workshops with, I did a lot of Marianne Williamson and Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra and all those people. Wonderful people, wonderful work. But being in that for 7 consecutive days with your peers, it's very organic process. And then the skill set and it's more than a skill set that you and Rick have. It's your purpose.
It is.
It's divine guidance, honestly. And so being able to have that to lead us through it was extraordinary. And like I said, it was like a therapy process. There's a lot of peeling the artichoke things back during that. A lot of people are just, and going through the process. So you're learning, you're excited, you're motivated, you're inspired, and you're also being crushed with emotions and feelings and all these things about yourself.
Well, and I think that, one of the most important things about the training is that it really is a cocoon of unconditional love.
Yes.
And that's definitely what Louise taught me about going to the groups that she held and the intensives that I went to with her. And when you have that container of unconditional love that is safe, that allows people to feel all those feelings they haven't been, allowed to before, and really recognize how underneath all that, how beautiful they are, how lovable they are. It's really amazingly powerful. And one thing that we had to decide during COVID, because everybody was going online, and I think you could attest to this, there's no way to do that program online.
No.
Because it's so much about that container of unconditional love, the safe place, and the connections with all of the people that are in the group. 100%. I don't know if you still have any connections with people that were in your training. I mean, it was quite a while ago at this point, but many people feel coming to it now they have a family.
Sure.
That they never had before. It's their true family.
Sure. I'm in touch still with, as we'll get to TLC, as we build
Yeah,
TLC,
absolutely.
some of the other facilitators, but I love the cocoon of unconditional love. That's well said, well said. And so I became certified, and I wanted to take that certification. I wasn't really interested in doing workshops. I wanted to take it and develop something that I could take into treatment facilities and serve that population. So I did that, and I started networking with facilities in this area, and I developed my own business, and I would go into the treatment facility once a week and teach these lessons to the clients that were there.
Well, talk more about the lessons and how you structured things and the groups that you were with. Just tell us more about that.
Sure. So it was female, male, both, age group pretty much, because it was 21 and over. So young 20s, 30s, 40s population in recovery for a multiple addictions or, eating disorders, had some dual diagnosis and all of those things. And it was always group. It wasn't one-on-one, group process. And I just used Louise Hay's, the work and your training as my roadmap, and just applied it more to recovery and that process, and teaching them, the information, the tools, the affirmations, breathing. And this was a long time ago. This was like pretty much right after about 2010, 2000. A lot of that stuff wasn't even on anybody's radar, back then, even though it's been around forever. But and so these were great tools for people to learn coping strategies for them to pick up and use in recovery. We learned how to, work steps. We learned how to do inventories. We learn, treatment's fantastic. It's very clinical. So you learn a lot of those tools, but just those tools that you can use yourself were something that I wanted to bring to that community.
Yeah. And I think in recovery, just getting to that place where you say, I love myself. And it's okay to love myself. It's okay to release the past and really go forward. So I think that was beautiful that you were able to bring that into the recovery treatment programs as well,
Yeah.
And
self-confidence, self-esteem, self-worth, all those self things, self-care, all those things that we don't do, when we're out there using and drinking. And I told you before the show, I had this one kid, he was not a kid, but he was like in his 30s. we were going through one of the lessons, and he said, I've been in 5 treatment centers at least, and nobody's ever asked me these questions in my life. And this is so, profound and helpful.
Yeah. And so the work really does take you deeper into some of the things that you really need to understand about yourself.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about this manifestation that you had, because I don't remember exactly what year it was, but I do remember you coming to Rick and I and saying, why don't you start a nonprofit organization? And our reaction was, oh no. We were so immersed with traveling and doing the teaching. And at that point, we were going to England a couple times a year to teach, the training.
You were all over the world. You were
all over,
everywhere.
in India, Australia, UK, everywhere, And so the idea of starting a nonprofit, which of course you would head, was just really beyond anything that we felt guided to do.
Sure.
However, within a few years after that, you actually manifested that and your part in it. So I do remember Tilly. We'll get to Tilly's, retail store and how this all came about. But Tilly Levine, and she had called us and was really interested in a program for teens. And it happened at the time we were in the very beginning stages of developing a program for teens. So we already had the adult one. We already had one for businesses, going into businesses large and small. But it was clear there was a need for the teens.
Sure.
But we were too early in our process to really say, yes, let's really partner with that. So Tilly, just decided to take it forward herself. I think we introduced you to her and a few of the other people from the Heal Your Life community. and you are now the VP of Academics. So that has been a multi-year journey at this point, right? But just talk about more how you first met Tilly and how the program for teens got developed. I've been in that program at a couple of the workshops, and it's just powerful. It's great. Go ahead.
Yeah, wonderful. It was a manifestation. And if anybody doesn't believe in, the work of Louise Hayes and, the affirmations and all the things, I literally have a vision board still with me that has the map of what has been created. But I was working in treatment, and I remember I was approaching you and Rick because I kept thinking, working with these 20, 30, 40 somethings, why don't we start with teenagers, adolescents?
Right.
Why don't we get them the tools they need so they don't end up in treatment, so they don't end up, 30 years down the road going to therapy or, divorce and all the things that happen to us because we haven't addressed those wounds. And I just was very adamant about it. I knew that this was my path. I loved working in recovery, but I tuned into the inner adolescent, not the inner child, but the inner adolescent that I was, that didn't get those tools, and thought, oh my God, if I had learned this stuff when I was an adolescent, what would my life have been like? Right.
Right.
And so I approached you and you just said all the whys and what you were doing. And I thought, okay, well, I'll just keep trudging along the path here of working in the community, and maybe I'll develop it on my own, or maybe I won't. But I knew that that's where I wanted to go. We used to talk about it with the girls when I'd have the women's groups here. And I would say, when we would talk about purpose, I felt that my purpose was to help adolescents develop their own purpose and get the company strategies to succeed. That was like, I just knew that was a community. And so I was working with one group in recovery, and it kind of went south. And I was very bummed about it. I was like, oh, too bad. I was really excited about it. And I just let it go. And literally like 2 days later, I get a phone call on my voicemail. It was Tilly, and she's from Israel. So she has a very heavy accent. And she said, "This is Tilly Naveen, and I got your number from Shelly, and I'd like to talk to you." And I'm like, okay, who's this person? So she had talked to Louise. She went and met Louise Hayes, told her she wanted to develop a program for teens. You were kind of developing a program for teens at the time. And then Louise referred her to Shelly, and Shelly gave her a list of trained facilitators in this area. So my name was on a list. I think there were 62 people on this list, Tilly said. And
Could have been.
I don't know. Tilly said she picked my name, and I was the first one she called. She called me, and we met at Mother's Market. And she said as soon as she saw me, she knew. That's it. We stayed there for 3 hours. We talked. We had no idea how we were doing this or what we were doing, but we were going to do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I developed just a little curriculum I have no background in this. My background's production and a plethora of other things that I've done, but I don't have curriculum development in my background. I did it for, treatment facilities for my own gig, but certainly not for like, for middle schools, high schools, and those things. And so we met, and we decided that was in 2012. We were going to give this a shot. And we actually searched for somebody that wrote curriculum. We were looking for somebody to help us write the curriculum. We thought, find somebody that's, has that experience. And nobody was landing. Nobody got the vision. Nobody understood the purpose. And she's like, "You're going to do it, and I'm going to help you." And I'm like, I'll never forget. We were in San Juan at this little restaurant, and she said, "You're going to do it, and I'm going to help you. And we're going to do this." And I was like, okay, let's do this. And we took, at the time, a couple of the girls, we went to her house in Palm Springs, and we started laying down the foundation. And that's where I Am Me was born, and kind of the vision of what that would look like and how it would be structured was born. And from there, it was developed over the next, I mean, we still do revisions and develop curriculum, but it was developed over the next couple years.
I think you have a workbook to show, don't you?
Yeah. So each teen gets a student-facing workbook. There's 3 phases, and there's spaces for, and here's, who am I? Very based on Louise Hay's work, but they're, every lesson that we do, and we go in once a week, we have them do some journaling. It's very experiential. So it's a lot of peer-to-peer contact. It's role play. It's art projects. It's journaling. So like they start with weekly journal questions. They do empowerment statements and affirmations. This is I am peaceful, stress reduction, like take 5. 5 coping strategies, like how to breathe and meditation and communication. I'm communicating. So it's something that they probably never, writing letters to people, it's things that they've never been exposed to before.
Yeah. And you have, I know you're in Boys and Girls Clubs and also in schools.
Yes. So we are, it was a road. We started with the Boys and Girls Club in Capistrano Valley with an after school program. And we had a group of, I think there was about 15 teens, and we did 12 lessons. We had mapped out 12 lessons and, just trying different things, what was working, what wasn't working. And they loved it so much, they made us develop 12 more. And then they loved those so much, they made us develop 12 more. That's how we ended up with 36, because we were just going to do 12 and done. And they were like, no, like you have to do more. So they were our pilot group. Then we moved to a continuation school in San Juan. And after that, we got introduced to Huntington Beach Union High School District, where a principal from one of those schools came and saw the class at the continuation school and said, you have to come to our school. And so we've been embedded into middle schools, high schools. We were at UCI School of Education for several years, almost 8 years. So we're embedded in a lot of educational spaces. And then we also partner with youth focused organizations where we do workshops and,
Now, for the Boys and Girls Clubs, those are kids who were already there. They already were coming there in the afternoons, right?
They were already coming there. And we don't do a lot of after school programs anymore. We'll do like one-off workshops, but they were already coming there. Yes.
Yeah. And then at the schools, are they self-selected? How do they get into the program in the schools?
So the schools get to decide where they want to implement us. And we're implemented in several different places. So for example, at Century High School, they have a school of education where the kids are training to become teachers. Right. So we're in that class with them. Same with UCI. We used to be in School of Education, students becoming teachers. At Ocean View, like schools like Ocean View High School, which is in Huntington Beach, we're in Savannah and Magnolia, which is Anaheim Union School District. We serve every freshman. So we're in their health class. So every freshman on campus takes our class. And that's like 600 kids that we're in. And
that is amazing. Yeah. That is absolutely amazing. How powerful. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And you were saying how that the forgiveness one, 90% of them say that they
love that class.
Their favorite. That is amazing.
I know. The things that they come out with is just incredible. At first it's poker faces. Is this therapy? You're going to make us do therapy. All those things.
I know. Well, because they're teenagers, right?
Yeah. And the buy-in takes a minute. It takes a minute for the buy-in, especially the freshmen and the younger kids. They're like, okay, we're actually at a middle school here in Costa Mesa, and they're just so. It's amazing to me that they're so open and get it, at that age.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, they take it home to their parents, and their parents are like, what are you learning? And it's just life skills, we're just learning those old fashioned life skills that you and I used to learn organically because we were out there playing in the streets, right? Or interacting and not on this
all the time, right?
All the time. So like you said about, doing the training online, we're experiential. We're trained facilitators in the classroom with them, or we train the teacher. Nothing is online. Everything is totally peer-to-peer, face interactions, activities where they're interacting with each other.
Well, and it's interesting you say, they take it home to their parents who are like, what's this? 'Cause we had someone in the UK who developed a program to go within the schools for younger kids, like, 6, 7, 8 years old. Okay. And she realized very quickly she really had to do programs for the adults too.
Yes.
Because the kids were going home and saying, okay, what is this, right?
Yeah.
And I just also want to add that actually the Heal Your Life training, we will have, or actually do have now, a program for children.
Awesome.
And that's going to be done in February in the U.S. So I'm very excited about that. And so we're covering the whole spectrum.
The world needs that.
It absolutely does. And when you look at what's happening online with kids these days, it's just so sad, all the bullying and things that happen with them. So for the program that you have, I Am Me, I mean, how powerful is that for teens to really, do 180 in their self-esteem, and also just getting more skills for emotional work as well. That, like you said earlier, that they don't have to be in therapy, when they're 30, 40 or whatever.
It's amazing. I was working on the last couple days because we're having an event come up, and we have our ambassadors come and speak. And I was working on their, the letters that they wrote and the essays they wrote. And every time I read one of those, or I go and see the kids, then I know I'm doing, and I did what I was supposed to do. And I was reading one gentleman's, he's 17 now, but I was reading his last night, and he talked about, his life, and he was making all these bad choices because he felt like he wasn't worthy of good things. And he said, I had no vision. I had no vision for myself. And I ended up, he's went through some bigger stuff than most students did, but he ended up in the hospital. He ended up in jail because of his choices. And he talked about, because he didn't believe in himself. He had no scope for like who he was or what he wanted for his life. And he truly believed that he couldn't accomplish anything beyond what, was put in front of him. And he said that the things that he learned in Tilly was he learned to have a vision for himself and believed that he could fulfill that vision. And he's enrolled in Orange Coast College now to get his contractor's license.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful.
I mean, there's 1,000 of those stories, but it's like,
absolutely.
What if nobody ever told you that you could do something?
I've met several people lately that actually did get Louise's book when they were teens, and how much it changed their lives there, and from their parents. But it's wonderful that Louise's work is the foundation, and then you have expanded it and being able to take it into the schools. And what's so wonderful about Louise's work and the work that you're doing is that it is adaptable to any culture.
Yes.
And that's why Louise's book has sold 55 million copies worldwide, and there's Heal Your Life teachers in 72 countries.
Yes.
Because at one level, Louise always said she was a simple lady.
Sure.
But the simple lady had an intention that has just transformed so many lives. And, continuing to be able to expand it is just absolutely priceless for people. And there's so much other work these days, and it's becoming more quote unquote commonplace, if you will.
Right.
Because when you and I started, it was new. It was very, very new.
Definitely.
So I do know that Tilly's is a nonprofit. And you do fundraisers, and there's a fundraiser coming up in November.
There is. We're having our 11th annual gala. I Am Giving Gala. It is Shoot for the Stars, and it is on November 15th. Oh, there you go. Beautiful. It's on November 15th at the AV in Irvine. And if you want more information about that or would like to purchase a ticket, you can go to our website, and it's on there under events.
Yeah. And I think, didn't you have it there a couple of years ago? Is that the one? I think that's
you came to one. Yeah, the flower. It was the flower one.
And I think that was the one where Rick and I were actually given an award for international work. Yeah, that was so touching and so very precious for us. We were just really delighted to be acknowledged. So, and I know you acknowledge other people in the community as well for the work that they're doing. And I think that's an important piece of it all as well. to know that we are all in cooperation of other groups that are doing the work to help people live happier, healthier, more functional lives.
Yeah.
It's not just one program here or one there, but it's a cooperative that we can all be together and really celebrating each other and the work that we're doing.
Yeah, it's not a competition. I always
Mhm.
say it's not a competition. There's so many nonprofits, right? And now there's a lot of them that focus on this.
Mhm.
There's, even though there's a lot of them, there's not enough to serve the resources that we need for
Mhm.
everybody.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's important to support each other, even if we're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And getting the work out there.
Well, and really, Christine, you talk about being divinely guided, and that's exactly how Rick and I feel. We were really divinely guided, and so was Louise. Louise didn't start out to have a country publishing house.
Right.
She started out with a very simple intention, which was she changed her life so powerfully. Sure. She wanted to share it with others. Sure. And I think that when you get grounded in that spiritual connection, and whatever way you do that, and I meditate, I imagine you do as well. But whatever way people can get grounded in that spiritual connection, that's where you get your ego out of the way. Right. And you get that connection that says, okay, make this phone call, take this, do that, do whatever. And you find yourself suddenly more than you had ever expected. More than
100%. Yeah. And trusting that process for sure.
So in closing, what we usually ask, and this will be a surprise for you because I didn't tell you ahead of time, but in closing, what are 3 tips that you would like to leave the audience with today that you think will just be helpful for them and going forward in their lives?
Oh, wow. Okay. That is, yeah. Woo. Okay.
There we go.
3 tips. Well, as you said, you still do the work. So still do the work. Don't stop doing the work.
Yeah.
Or don't stop the process. I don't know if work's the right, or don't stop practicing, whatever you want to put there. I think it's so important because I feel like, and I've done this myself, I've gone and done things and thought, wow, this is really cool. And I'm going to do it. And if it didn't work, I stopped doing it, or it worked. And so I don't need to do it anymore, Carey. So don't stop practicing, even if you have to pivot to a different practice. Self-care is so important. Spiritual enlightenment, all of that stuff. Sometimes I've been on many different paths with that, and I've learned many different things from many different people. And there's a vast world out there of people to learn from, and it can be anybody. You never know who you're going to meet, right? It can be the kids. The kids teach us all the time. We're like, what? Like the things that they say, I'm like, oh, it's so profound. So don't stop practicing your practice. And that means helping yourself and your enlightenment and all of that. The second thing, just, love yourself and know that you deserve. Yeah. I still have that. I don't think I'll ever not have, those doubts or that, like, I don't deserve that, or I just did that. It's funny. I just did that with this coat. I just bought this coat yesterday, and I thought of your story in your cosmic kitchen book. And I had gone, and it was like this semi-expensive coat. I'm like, I'm not going to spend the money on that. That's ridiculous. But it was gorgeous, and I don't have anything like it. And so I walked away from it, and then I went back Saturday, and they were closed. And I was like, oh, I must not have been meant for the coat. And then I went back, and then I kept thinking about it. And I went back on Monday, and it was 30% off.
Okay.
On Saturday.
You deserve it.
I did. So they were like, this was meant for you. It's 30% off. You couldn't buy it on Saturday when you came back, and now it's 30% off. So, and I was thinking, I don't deserve that, but I work really hard, and it's, I'm not lavish or extravagant, but and so I deserved that. And I thought of your story. And so I keep telling myself I deserve it because I don't want to lose it like you lost your coat. But so that definitely, deserving, know that you deserve good things. We all deserve good things. I don't even know what the third one is. Don't stop being curious, maybe.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Absolutely. Don't stay stuck in one place. Absolutely.
Yeah. Tap into that child. I'm really into, I always have been, just have fun and that wonder and be curious. And when you go out every day in the world, and I love doing this, and I don't do it every day, but for the most part I do, just be open to something wonderful happening and connecting with people.
Mhm.
You know, I connected with this beautiful person yesterday. I can't even talk about it because I'm going to cry, but it was just one of those random connections, you know, because we took a minute to talk to each other in a store, and it was this whole thing. And we ended up like hugging, and like,
Yeah.
it's all out there, and people
Mhm.
right now, the world is a lot.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
if you can bring that in your space or invite that into your space, it shifts every single day.
There are
It'll
miracles every day.
everywhere, every day. Just be open to it.
So I just want to thank you so much. I've been interviewing Christine Carey today, who is the Vice President of Academics with Tilly's Life Center. And it's been thrilling. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your pathway that I know is going to inspire others. And I look forward to seeing you again and just talking to you more. So take care. I love you.
I love you so much. And thank you for what you've given me to help me on this path.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Thank you for all you share with the world, too.
You too. Right back at you, lady.
All right. We'll be back next week with Reverend Martine and another wonderful guest. Thank you, Christine, for this one.